Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Athens City Planning Commission for Wednesday, July 17, 2019. 3 members are present, 2 are absent today, but a quorum has been established. Disposition of minutes for June 6, 2019, and I will make a motion to table the approval of the minutes due to the fact that Christy cannot vote. She was not here for that meeting, so there's only 2 people, not a quorum, for approving that disposition of minutes. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's 3 in favor and 2 are absent. Cases, there are none today. However, communications will begin with Ohio Health, Oblenus Hospital. And Lance, do you care to introduce this, please?
What they're proposing is adding basically another building for more doctors' offices. Just to the opposite side of the hospital, straight across, not on the Castrop side end, kind of behind their express care that's already there. And that's kind of what they're here for today. All their access will be coming off their existing driveway and parking lot area. They won't be coming out to West Union at this time.
Great. Let's see, are there any representatives from Ohio Health, Oblenus, who are here?
Hi, Mark Secretary.
Hi, do you care to come to the podium and just, if you would, state your name and who you represent,
We need to swear
please?
people in.
Yes, and anybody who is expecting to speak to the board today, could they just raise their right hands from where they're at? And do you just promise to tell the truth to the Athens City Planning Commission as best you know it? Great, thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mark Secretary. I'm the president of Ohio Health Oblenus. And we're here today, as Lane said, to talk about the medical office building that is behind the Gwandy building, the land that we own. I grew up around here, so that's the way I call it, the Gwandy building, Express Care. And it is a 30,000 square foot building, 2 stories, in which we would bring some of the physicians that are on Union Street, Old Columbus Road, and still in Parks Hall, bring them all into one location so that it wouldn't be more of a medical campus. So that's been our plan. We've talked about that for a few years with Parks Hall. The university wants to take that building back over, so that's really a great game plan for us at Ohio Health Oblenus, bringing everybody onto one campus.
Okay. Are there any questions right now? Here's what we got.
This may actually be more for the code officer. Does the existing parking with the expansion, does it meet code requirements?
We would have to go out and count for sure. What they're proposing for the building would be enough.
Okay.
So, Chrissy, your question is, as it relates to the total complex, and as this is an expansion of the total complex,
Right.
the total spaces match the requirements for the overall for the complex
Exactly.
uses. Yeah, sure. That'll be something we'll just do a comparison when it comes
Right,
to.
we would have to check.
Okay.
Does someone else, I will have a moment to read, I guess, a concern from one of the commissioners, planning commissioners, Miss Nancy Bain. She was not able to be here today. She has a note sent to us dated July 17, 2019. I have a major conflict today, so I will not be there. I'm very concerned about the impact of filling of the low, often swampy area that will send water off the property. Second, what will be the impact on traffic in the corridor? And why not use the existing traffic flow around Castrop? So
I would be not the person that would
Right,
talk about
so
some of that, so I will.
does someone care to address that? Do we have an extra copy? Would you like an extra copy here, just so
Yes,
you can?
yeah, just for my notes. So the existing traffic flow around Castrop.
So I think that
be able to-
if I can clarify,
Sure.
I think Nancy, had thought about the potential future drive that would go out through the Gawande property. And, her point, she was thinking that would be the new entrance, and that's not what you're proposing right now. So I think that, to allay her concerns, the traffic around Castrop will be the traffic that is used. It'll just go in and come in that direction. So I think she's getting a little bit ahead of this particular project with that question. But probably would be worth, just for the record, if you want to talk from the podium, if you want to talk about plans related to stormwater design.
And again, if you could just state your name and the company you represent, please.
I'm Joe Meyer. I'm a project architect and designer with Design Group. I'm an architect, not a civil engineer, but I believe the intent is not to disrupt the current runoff from the site. With the design of the traffic islands and that sort of construction, I think the intent would be to maintain the treatment of that water on site as it would be now. So I don't know if there's a specific area, the swampy area. I'm not sure if that's talking about the low portion kind of between this part of the hospital campus and the existing parking lot. That swale remains intact. I'm not sure if that's the area that's being addressed in the.
Yeah, and we talked briefly during the meeting with the administration and Mark, your folks from the design group. The area just to the south of this project was the former canal, and the area to the southeast is still a relatively low tree-filled area that does hold water. With proper design, you can mitigate any issue with stormwater that with the increase in impervious surface caused by building in an area that's otherwise grassy. We actually don't have a requirement to retain for any development less than 5 acres. And that was something we talked about at that initial coordination meeting. But we do have a stormwater quality requirement in Chapter 5.07 of the City Code, and I would encourage the designers to look at that stormwater quality code. Basically using best practices to treat stormwater before it exits the site, rather than just instantly putting it straight into a storm sewer and running it off the property. So that's probably, I think, would allay the concerns if you show that, as you're doing parking lot islands and stuff, you're doing water quality structures that the water can go and settle out some of the pollutants before it enters the storm system. Right. And if you're following those best practices, which are pretty much standard design guidelines anymore for significant commercial development, I think it'll address Ms. Bain's concerns.
Okay.
And maybe Andy, the answer to this, but there's no floodplain consideration here. It's all Zone X.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they got to fill 4 feet plus or minus, I think, in order to get above the 100-year. I know that you've been in contact with our floodplain administrator so far.
I'm Mike McKay, Director of Design and Construction, working with civil engineer a little closer on this. This is something we've been looking at even as...
Excuse me, could you get a little closer to the microphone? Thanks.
Sure. I'm Mike McKay, Director of Design and Construction, working with the civil engineer, and was talking to him actually on the way down here. They are working with staff with local jurisdictions. There's certain, there's local jurisdiction rules. They're going to follow, they'll abide by all those to address any, concerns of practices. They understand less than 5 acres, we don't have to worry about retainage as much as water quality. It's something we're accustomed to. We're actually going to make that, the intent is to make that make it a better situation than it is today of, standing water, laying water. And we've verified the stream. It's not a jurisdictional stream, so it's we can go over it. But they're working with staff. Staff's been very accommodating to work with, and their design, which we'll have for staff for planning commission meeting coming up, and be able to talk more details of those to address your concerns.
Okay, but this will go through the floodplain development permit process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, most of this site is within that. The building's going to have to come up. Okay. It's not significant, but it's enough to...
Okay. Having that extra layer of review, I think is...
Yep, that'll be an important part of the check internal to the administration to make sure that we've done that, that they're up and above. And, we talked in our meeting that, the current Atlantis has a basement. obviously this building, you know, that's not something you can do anymore in a floodplain, so they're not going to have a basement in this building. And at least the last plans I saw, there was no basement.
No.
All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forth and speak about the project? Are there any other questions that you have, Chris? Here, Andy,
Mine
this
all
one?
out.
Yeah, you know, the only other thing I would note is these particular plans that we have, when we met, do show site for future expansion, but, you know, I think it's a two-phased approach. Obviously, just for your own knowledge, phase 2, if it's greater than 5,000 square feet, would be a separate thing if it's not shown now. You know, understanding that it's coming, we can plan accordingly, but, you know, we fully expect there to be a phase 2, as do you, when the time is right to expand in the future, and I think the commission will support both phases. It's a separate process. If it's completely distinct from, you know, the end of and construction and opening of this building. So you're tracking that just so we follow our process correct.
Yeah, and I would just say be thoughtful about the parking too, considering future expansion to make sure that's accounted for.
We've laid out this like accommodate.
Both.
Done the parking.
Okay.
If there's nothing else,
Yeah, I will say from the city administration's perspective, and the planner's not here, but development like this is right in line with the comprehensive plan and the comprehensive plan update, in that the you know, medical offices in this portion of the city are you know, really a use that we're looking for more of. So this is something that the administration supports, and so long as everything is done correctly with design and construction, I think we're certainly excited about the.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the Kenny Drive EMS station. Lance?
Yeah, this is going to be a new facility for the county EMS to set up in the property that was just donated, and so they're coming forward with their designs for their new EMS station building, to be able to move the existing one into their own building.
So this is pretty far along in the design process, but this is the communication, right? And
Yes,
then we'll
this
do
is the communication.
and then we'll do a case, you know, in a subsequent meeting to just put it through for the.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. When do they plan to have this back here? Did they give you time?
They never, that was never discussed.
Okay. All right. The Board of Zoning Appeals proposal for a small lot variances.
Wait, that was
Wait.
a separate thing.
That's a separate thing.
I have someone to talk to us about this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Kenny still, I'm sorry. Care to come to the podium and just state your name and the company you represent, please?
My name's Clinton Kinsley with Buckley Group. We did the civil design for this site, and it's a 9,900 square foot EMS building with some garage area and office space. We have 25 spaces of parking required, and we provide 37. We've accounted for the Shade Tree Commission's requirement for planting shade trees, and we have some substantial utility work that needs to be done. Rerouting of a 48-inch storm that goes through the middle of the property, and then we have to navigate around Columbia Gas Transmission's high pressure transmission line that runs through the middle of the property too. You have any questions?
Yeah, so the gas transmission line crossing detail that's shown on page C102, is that your design, or is that from them that said this is what you got to do to get over us?
That's our design based on their parameters that they provided. They require 18-inch vertical separation. Any other time I've dealt with Columbia Gas Transmission, they require a concrete encasement.
Okay.
So we have that 10 feet each side, I believe. Yeah, 10 feet each side of the crossing. So we've submitted a preliminary work ticket to Columbia Gas Transmission to get any feedback from these plans. haven't received anything back from them yet, but I anticipate this will be satisfactory to what they're requiring.
Okay. The other question that I had is, have you been in touch, I know you've been in touch with the fire chief from a kind of general site planning perspective for the area to the west. This is kind of a unique project in that it's a county project that is to a certain extent in partnership with the city, and that the city owns the remainder of this property, and this is turning into like a fire department training area. And a goal of the city's is the extension of Kenny Drive, or at least an access road from Kenny Drive that enters this site and then turns to the east and exits onto Elliottsville Road, on down the road. So, one of the things I think from a design perspective, looking at the southeast corner of this site, our thinking as we look at that would be that, a vehicle could travel, enter, cross the gas line, and go into that back lot, and then turn and go down the access road that'll go through the fire training area. And so, as long as we don't build anything that would preclude that movement, to be able to go in there, like I think citing that hydrant specifically that's in the southeast corner of this property so that it wasn't going to get knocked over by a vehicle that makes that turn, I think is probably something we would want to make sure we did correctly. But otherwise, I think it's on track. Same comment I had to the other folks about stormwater quality. I mean, you've worked with our stormwater regulations before. And, doing a couple BMPs in here to treat. That's great. Where's the 48 go? I wasn't tracking that there was a 48.
Straight through the center of the property, and it's hard to tell when you're out there because the existing catch basin is full of water all the time.
Huh.
So, but we pumped it down a little bit and got down in and saw that it goes across the property. So it's not ideal to have to reroute that, but that's pretty much the only way we can build on this property.
Is that shown? Okay, I see where you.
Yeah, it'll be on C102.
And you think it's draining east?
Draining west.
It's draining west towards the railroad?
Yes.
Huh. You just discharge?
Up from it comes down from Elliottsville Road.
Okay.
Across our property, and then there's a ditch on our side of the railroad that this storm discharges into.
Okay.
And there's also a culvert under the railroad that is where it's supposed to drain to.
Yeah, that site apparently was filled. That used to be the natural creek.
Ah, okay. So they put a pipe in it?
The borings we got, you go down about 14, 16 feet along, which would have been the bottom of that natural drainage. And then it's sort of sandy, silty fill all the way up. So
I got you.
somebody had filled and leveled that site and then put that 48 in.
To carry the drainage. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I knew that the gas line was there as a barrier, but I didn't know that there was a storm line.
Yeah.
It's a site that just keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Keeps
Yeah.
Yeah, the city give this for free to the county to build this in order.
Would this isn't a question for you necessarily, but would the EMS vehicles be going in and off of 56? And then will there be expected, so like lighting, warning signs, whatever for, EMS vehicles that might be going there and going out?
I don't know if there's required signage for...
Or if it's something that would be of...
Does this replace the one on West Union right now?
Yeah. I believe so. Yes.
Right now, we don't have anything where they go on and off.
The only problem is that
no
bridge
parking or no stopping in front of the drive. They have a sign in front of the current one that says no stopping.
Yeah, it's because the signal backs up sometimes a day and in front of the...
I don't know if like during school loading times if that would happen or not, but...
Yeah, hopefully the new elementary school that they build it so that the parking lot can accept the drop-off traffic, and you don't have the stacking on Union Street that we do sometimes for Morrison right now, because you're right, that's a good point.
I just noticed that especially a lot of people coming into town tend to hit that bridge a little bit hard when they come over, and I just don't know if that's something that people want to reflect on going forward.
Yeah, we probably ought to look at, and maybe you can look at when you look at signage, some sort of note that says emergency vehicles entering roadway as you approach this Kenny Drive, on 56, and that might allay the concerns of the planning commission members and be a.
Or even have like the blinking thing like you have with pedestrians, for instance, on East State Street, down by the Village
signal.
Bakery, something like that.
There's a warrant process for emergency signals for emergency vehicles, and that's something that I think it has to do with frequency of runs. But we'll take a look at it internal to the.
Ms. After, did you have anything?
I don't.
Okay.
Do people sleep here?
Yeah.
And so the zone is M, right?
I believe it's M or B3.
Yeah, I think it's M. And so we can't have residential in an M, but this isn't really residential because they don't live here. They just sleep here.
Right.
So we don't think we need a variance for that?
No, because it's not a residential use.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for our parking space calculation, we used professional office and service garage
Okay.
as the two ways to
Yeah.
calculate what we needed. I don't
From a
know.
building code standpoint, it's a mixed use.
Okay.
So there's B occupancy for the office, there is R occupancy for the sleeping quarters, and then there's U for the garage. So it ends up being this non-separated mixed use.
Non-separated mixed use. I think that's it's our occupancy for that, but it's really not resident. I think that's probably an interpretation of zoning code that we can do internal to say that it's compliant and wouldn't go before the BZA, or wouldn't have a requirement to go before the BZA. Okay. Great.
I got one comment from our urban conservation technician, just so you guys are aware, with the size of the project, you will have to get a general construction stormwater permit from the EPA.
Yep.
Just so you know.
I received that email, and we can
Okay.
do that easily. We'll get that and get some stormwater BMPs, probably for that rear swale that drains into the catch basin.
We'll need the owner to sign. And at that point, it's.
Actually, did we transfer this? Or did we do I
don't know.
I'm trying to remember what we did.
As far as I know, it's.
I don't remember seeing anything that.
I think we did a lease. Patty, do you remember? We did a lease.
We did something, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't an outright transfer. It was like a 30-year lease for $1 or something. So yeah, the city will send.
We can prepare the application for it and then
Okay.
have you guys pin it. So.
Anything else on that? Thank you very much.
We permit ourselves regularly.
Let's see. The Board of Zoning Appeals, proposal for small lot variances. Mr. Allison, care to?
Yeah, what this is kind of similar to what the Planning Commission proposed with their minor modifications to the towers. It's kind of one of those deals where it doesn't make sense to keep going through the same process. And what they're wanting to change, the reason they're wanting to change is we're getting people that are coming in and wanting to improve their properties, but they're non-conforming, but what they're doing is making it more conforming, but they still have to go to the BZA anyway. And so what they're trying to do is eliminate seeing so many cases that they're green lighting because they're improving the properties and becoming more conforming, but still not conforming. And they want to give it basically an administrative.
And this is something you'd like to see recommended as well?
Yes.
Okay.
The member of the BZA who brought this forward was
John Golsey.
Yeah, John Golsey talked to us at one of the mayor's boards and commissions meeting, like all boards and commissions meeting that we had, and he's been on the BZA for a number of years.
A while.
And he's seen this stuff come through and said, why are we? The people are trying to make their property more conforming. Why do you even have to go to have an appeal? And the reason is because our code says they do. It says they have to go to the BZA to get an appeal when what they're doing is going to make it be more likely to conform. And so they're recommending basically, and I think he gives some examples here, as far as instances where the BZA, had to take up a case and they're trying to improve things. So in all instances that he gave, there were 5-0 approvals, and what he's proposing is to allow. What I think it should say from a code perspective is the service safety director or his or her designee. That way, if other administrative officials change and they decide that, we don't have to change the code again.
Right.
But I think that's, I think this is a legitimate change. Process-wise, how do we do this to recommend the change? Does it have to be a case, or can we just do it here?
I think you guys, and I don't know if it has to be a case or if you guys just send the recommendation to go to council. I don't remember what we just did with the minor modifications, but
Okay.
it would be the same process, except for this time it came from the BZA to you guys first, instead of it being your.
Okay, so this
Yours
is
first.
what we have to do. 230907 changes and recommendations to amend the zoning code. So within 60 days from the receipt of this, which came in I guess it came in right after the 9th. So
Right.
we got 60 days. So about September 10th or so, we have to transmit our recommendation to City Council. It looks like we can decide whether or not we want to have a public hearing about this particular recommendation. And then notice of the hearing shall follow the same requirements as 230908. Commission may recommend that the amendment be granted as requested, or we can recommend a modification to this, or we can recommend that it be denied. Written decision of the commission shall indicate the specific reasons upon which the recommendation is based to include basis for determination. Yep. And then it talks about what city council can do. So what I guess I would propose, if the body is in agreement, is we should take this back and read it, and then at a future meeting, either if we want to change something, but then have a vote, and our vote will be to forward it on to City Council if we see fit.
Okay.
So, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm open to that. I'd like to read this a little bit more also.
Sure.
But basically, at this time, what they're just asking is that, again, like in our situation with the towers, that you're just trying to streamline the process and
Correct.
renaming the people.
Right. Instead of it saying BZA, it would be,
Code director, safety service director. Okay.
Yeah.
So that hasn't been decided on yet. Okay. So I think that would be an additional reason to
With the
talk about this.
With the psychopath fire, would that fit into this category as well? Because they had to go to BZA also. They were non-conforming and they were repairing things, and they had to go back to BZA.
It could,
Okay.
depending on if there was any other any other changes or not. It actually probably would have eliminated having to go to the BZA.
Okay.
I think it would be good for the mayor to be here, though, on
Sure.
that. And
He's tracking this.
Christie,
so,
if you agree. So.
Sure, yeah, I
Okay.
think
So
so.
I'll make sure he's up
For
to
discussion.
speed on this, for the time that we bring it forward. I think probably as a process, maybe the next 30 days from now, we'll do a case and do a vote,
Okay. So we don't need to take any type of vote right now,
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
yeah, I think that's what we're saying, right?
Yep.
Okay, since this is in communication. Okay, great. Let's see, report from the city planner. Paul is not here. Mr. Allison, do you have a report?
I'm sure everybody has noticed that Menards is finally clearing ground. They're working through their final pieces with engineering and public works to help start securing their utilities and things along those lines. But they are in the process of getting it cleared, ready to start bringing in fill to start raising it up.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Allison? Okay. If there's no one here in the live audience to address the Planning Commission, one comatose there, so we got that. The announcements or other business.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Our next meeting will be August 1st, 2019, here at Athens City Hall, with the business of the Athens Planning Commission concluded. This meeting stands adjourned.